What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Weekend Recap every single Monday here on Rabona TV. I'm Adrian. Thanks for joining me. If you like what you see, why don't you subscribe so you can find your way back to the channel a little more easily. And let's jump right into this. Tottenham ended their skid as they beat West Brom on Sunday. Things are looking very grim for West Brom, aren't they? As for Tottenham, the return of Harry Kane, of course, reignited their attack, and they really should have scored more than just the 2 on the day. But hey, you just need 1 goal to win so long as you don't concede. So the 2-0 was actually comfortable in the end. 1 each for Kane and Son, 13 goals and 11 assists for Kane in the Premier League. Spectacular turnout thus far. Well, Son, he's not doing too poorly either with 13 goals and 6 assists. Aston Villa has had a checkered run of results lately, and this weekend, true to form following a loss, they won. This time getting it done early against Arsenal as they were given the gift of possession via Cedric, and the cut back into the box was smacked by Ollie Watkins and sort of dribbled past Matt Ryan in the Arsenal goal, hit a deflection along the way. The on-loan keeper played extremely well for Arsenal actually. He was called into question plenty of times and he always had the answer. Besides that Ollie Watkins goal, of course. Just when Arsenal were looking as if they were improving in January, they reverted back to their poor results again. 2 goals in their last 3 matches, 2 losses consecutively, and they faced Leeds next, then Benfica. At least we're in terrible form together. Speaking of the aforementioned Brighton, by the way, they got a draw against a fellow form side, sort of, against Burnley. 1-1 there, but Burnley will be ruining the chances that they didn't manage to finish off. I'm thinking of Vidra, for example. 1 point, which could have been 3 with some cleaner finishing. Newcastle and Southampton provided some major entertainment, but none for Hasenhüttl, who had to witness his side labor for their goal, scoring twice and conceding 3 against a Newcastle team that offered very little going forward. To put it into perspective for you, Southampton scored twice with an XG of 1.43. That's reasonable. Newcastle scored 3 goals with an XG of 0.91. Now that's frustrating for Ralph and the Saints. And that's also 4 losses on the slide for Southampton, who have a massive injury crisis, and they're playing an in-form side in Wolves next, first in the FA Cup, and then in the League 3 days later. A nice little doubleheader there. And by the way, for their part this weekend, Wolves tied 0-0 with Leicester, but really should have won the match if you ask me. Nuno has this team operating much better, and perhaps if Adama Traore and Fabio Silva were more assured in their finishing, then they would have sent the Foxes packing with 0 points. Another draw from the weekend, this time a big clash between United and Everton, and what a match it was. Some brilliant performances on the day, but that can't be said of Olsen and De Gea in their respective goals, who were culpable for their teams conceding. But it was another fantastic showing from Bruno Fernandes. Beautifully whipped strike that just dipped under the crossbar to make it 2-0. Cavani with the opener from a great ball from Rashford earlier in the game. But then De Gea's mistakes came to bite United as he palmed an easy save straight into the middle for Doucouré to tap in. Doucouré then cut back to James and he smashed it in for 2-2. Some great spirit from Everton to fight back at Old Trafford like that, to bring themselves level again. And that strike by James just arrowed into the bottom corner. Nothing De Gea could have done about that one. But Olsen lost his footing while trying to shuffle across goal to save a relatively tame Scott McTominay header, giving United the lead until the 94th minute at least, when a free kick fell to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and with De Gea just standing there like a statue, reacting far too late, he was able to poke it past the Spanish keeper. 3-3 the final. What a second half. Opportunity missed by United. By De Gea, more like. Alright, Liverpool versus City. A high-paced, high-pressing match, at least in the first half, that was a good watch, but was just lacking in quality opportunities. Besides, of course, the missed penalty from Gundogan in the first half, to go along with Mane's missed header from about 6 yards out. It was such a great run and cross by Alexander-Arnold, and then Mane, he beefed it. But the second half was an incredible statement. Guardiola's Anfield curse was absolutely smashed, a place where he'd never won before, and for his team to recover from missing a penalty and to go on to dominate Liverpool with a 4-1 scoreline in their own home is remarkable. Know what else was remarkable? Ruben Dias finally making a high-profile mistake. He came across the ball sort of awkwardly with his right when he perhaps should have, in hindsight, would have just cleared it with his left. But his mistake allows Salah to break through, and I think that Stones would have had it covered, but Ruben touching Salah's arm forced the decision out of the referee, and just as he did with the very weak Sterling penalty, he gave one to Liverpool. A lifeline for Liverpool, but a false sunrise. Alisson with 2 mistakes later, just killing his own team there. Phil Foden was brilliant. City in general were great. 4-1 the final. Again, what a statement that is. 10 Premier League wins in a row. 14 wins in a row across all competitions, which equals the English record for consecutive victories across all competitions. And with Chelsea getting a win over Sheffield United, perhaps a bit closer than it should have been thanks to Antonio Rudiger's blunder, Chelsea have a draw and 3 wins under their new manager. And that win helped them move up to 5th place, just a single point behind the very much struggling Liverpool. City have a 5-point lead over United with a match in hand. Real Madrid was able to get a favorable result and move past the disappointment of last week as they defeated the worst team in the league currently, Huesca. They had to come from a goal down, but a Rafael Varane double did the job for them. They truly should have had more goals in this game. Huesca could say the same, actually, but at this point of their season, it's the results that matter the most. For both teams, really, but for Real Madrid, I'm talking about here. They need to stop the bleeding and find their feet, especially after Sergio Ramos getting ruled out for a lengthy amount of time due to the knee surgery that he had to undergo. He'll be out for about 6 weeks now, so it's just blow after blow for Real Madrid. Sevilla continued to excel as they hosted Getafe and absolutely dominated the visitors. I really love what I'm seeing from Julen Lopetegui's side, and Sevilla fans will have loved what they saw from their La Liga debutant, Papu Gomez, with Ocampos getting clattered and Getafe going down a man. Gomez came on and put on a great performance. Munir and Jordan linked for the first goal. Then late in the match, Jordan fed Papu Gomez and he scored a beauty. Late on, and Nasiri, he made sure Getafe were dead, making it 3-0 and ensuring that there would be a little bit of handbags at the end between Lopetegui and Bordalás. Real Sociedad finally looked like themselves as they dealt a 4-1 defeat to Cadiz. Oyarzabal with a first half brace for Sociedad, a first half Cadiz will want to forget as they had a penalty cancelled thanks to VAR, as well as Moro getting sent off right on the stroke of halftime. Isaac with a brace in the second half. 4-1 Sociedad, their first win in La Liga since New Year's Eve, their first win in La Liga in 2021. Villarreal are unbeaten in 6 now, following their 2-2 draw with Elche. Unbeaten, but with 4 draws on the trot. That will drive Emery a bit mad. They had a 2-0 lead, and they blew it in the second half. Marcelino welcomed the club that sacked him, Valencia, to take on his Bilbao side, and honors were even in this one, despite Bilbao looking the better side in my opinion. Valencia snatched a goal against the run of play, while Bilbao were completely unlucky with some of their attempts, and poor with other ones. No way they should have drawn this one, they really should have won. That's how she goes. And finally, Barcelona had to come from behind away to Real Betis, as once again they showed some great character to come from behind as they did against Granada. Maybe they shouldn't be getting into these positions where they're behind, but to fight back consistently is a great sign. There are some great high-scoring matches across Europe this weekend, and this match between Barca and Betis was one of them. So after they were 1 goal down, a goal from the super sub, little-known guy as Lionel Messi, and an own goal from Victor Ruiz put Barcelona ahead briefly, but then Ruiz got his revenge to level things for Betis, and Trincão scored a worldie in the 87th minute to win the match for the Blaugrana, 3-2, and a great result against a tricky Betis side that's just sort of lingering outside of the top 6 right now, as you can see here. Atletico play today, but they still have that 7-point lead over Barca and Real Madrid, and Sevilla will just not go away, will they? Keep it up. Let's see a good title race. In France, it continues to be tight at the top, and you love to see that, as Lyon got a big 3-0 victory over Strasbourg, a double from Depay, while the Akambi dominance continues for Lyon. That's 13 goals for Depay and 11 for Akambi now. But 4 wins on the trot isn't quite the best form in the league, as Lyon have. So, who has the best form? Could it be Lille? They won 2-0 this weekend against Nantes, with my fellow Canadian Jonathan David scoring a brace. After such a slow start as far as the goals go to his career at Lille, he's finally getting the goals to go with his solid performances, which I personally love to see, of course. 5 goals in his last 5 appearances for Les Dogs. But again, that's still not the hottest form in Ligue 1 at the moment, as that honor belongs to AS Monaco. That's right, the hottest team in the league is AS Monaco as they beat Nîmes away in a 7-goal thriller. Man of the match performance from Alexander Golovin. He was playing out of his mind as he scored a hat-trick in the first hour of the match for 62 minutes, then later set up Kevin Volland for the 4-3 win. Shout out Zinedine Ferhat, by the way, as he got a goal and an assist for Nimes. Good performance from him. Rennes, or Stade Rennais' dip in form continued as they tied 0-0 with Lens. They currently have just one victory from their last 6 matches in the league. They were going to be that team that was fighting for top 4, but it's slipping away now. And of course, in Le Classique, PSG coasted to a 2-0 win over Marseille, a Marseille that's in meltdown at the moment. I have a video on that, of course, if you haven't seen it already. Kylian Mbappe scored once again, his 16th in the league. And Icardi got back on the score sheet as well. Easy peasy for PSG, but it still isn't enough to take first. Lille still have a 2-point lead over second place Lyon. PSG are 3 points back, and AS Monaco will not give up here. Great little 4-way title race in France with 14 matches remaining. Keep it up. All this talk of teams that were on hot streaks in France, let's continue that kind of talk in Germany. Eintracht Frankfurt haven't been stopped in 9 matches now, given they beat Hoffenheim 3-1 this weekend. Andre Silva scored once again, but the real star of the show was, of course, Filip Kostic, who cannot stop contributing to the goals for his team these days. He scored the opener, and despite Hoffenheim pulling it back to even just after the half, Kostic set up his teammates twice in 2 minutes to pull the match beyond Hoffenheim for the victory. In the 62nd minute and the 64th minute, goes from 1-1 to 3-1. Wolfsburg also continued their great form as they beat Augsburg 2-0 away. Wout Weghorst scored the opener and set up the second as Oliver Glasner, the manager, has Wolfsburg playing some very, very tidy football at the moment. Very sound defensively, and they've recently found success in the attack as well. That was their biggest sort of tripping block early days in the season, but they're on a great run now. They're turning all those draws from early on into wins. Bayer Leverkusen snapped their 3-match losing streak that reached across the Pokal as well, where they lost against RW Essen. Not a good look for a team like Bayer Leverkusen losing to a 4th-tier side. But anyways, they moved past that by beating VfB Stuttgart 5-2 this weekend, the highest scoring match of the weekend in the German top tier. Demarai Gray with a goal on his Bundesliga debut, scoring the 5th as Karim Demirbe scored a brace, Florian Wirtz got in on the fun, and Leon Bailey got a goal and an assist. Also, a big shout out to Moussa Diaby with 2 assists as he was a nightmare for that Stuttgart defense down that left flank. There's so much potential in this Leverkusen side, and it makes you question maybe Peter Bosz is sowing his Boschisms. What's frustrating is that with all of the losses Leverkusen have racked up lately, they're still not even that far off of second. If they had stayed consistent, then perhaps they would be the chosen ones to give Bayern a challenge. But by the way, that's something that Hertha was able to do this weekend as the Berlin boys frustrated the Bavarian side. This match provided quite the novelty as Robert Lewandowski had his penalty saved by Jarstein in the Hertha goal. That's a collector's item as his penalty record is insane for Bayern. In the end, a Kingsley Coman deflected strike took the match beyond Hertha despite some heroics from Jarstein. He denied Lewandowski from open play as well, while Sané and Gnabry also gave him plenty to think about. Now, Bayern are off to the Club World Cup. Good luck to them. RB Leipzig took their turn to beat up on Schalke as they won 3-0 against the worst team in the entire league. It was one-way traffic all match as Nkunku set up Mukiele on the stroke of halftime, then Angelino grabbed a brace of assists in the second half, playing setup man to Marcel Sabitzer and Willy Orban. Nagelsmann and RB Leipzig have won 3 matches in a row across all competitions now as they try to find some form before they have to go away to Hungary to take on Liverpool in the Champions League, given the English club wasn't permitted to enter Germany. That will be a great matchup at a neutral venue. Borussia Dortmund have continued their terrible run as they lost to SC Freiburg at Freiburg's Schwarzwald Stadion. Christian Streich got his first ever victory over Borussia Dortmund, so shout out to him. He, of course, is the manager of Freiburg. And a shout out to Youssoufa Moukoko for grabbing a goal for Dortmund, but that's where the shout outs end for Dortmund. The first goal for Freiburg was a decent strike, sure, but a strike that Marwin Hitz should be saving. Erratic keeping again from the Dortmund side of things. It seems like no matter who's in goal, they're a bit erratic. The second goal, a solid strike to the near post from Schmid, but again, Hitz looking weak. Off the post, off his hand, and in defending, keeping, problems for Dortmund. They should put some of the investment they make on all these young attackers on getting a consistent shot stopper. A massive result this weekend for Marcus Gisdol in Köln as they beat Marco Rosa's Gladbach. Fantastic result for them as Borussia Mönchengladbach's hot and cold domestic form continues. These guys can't get a good run going. 2-1 Köln, which puts some distance between themselves in the relegation battle, which will come as a relief, but they still can't find that form they were in a year ago prior to the COVID shutdown. And so at the top, Bayern's 7-point lead remains, given both they and Leipzig won their matches. And you can see that Borussia Dortmund's Champions League chances, they're in danger of slipping away, and they'll absolutely have to turn their form around immediately if they hope to make the competition for the next season and get access to all of those funds that they can spend money on more young attackers and just keep on ignoring their defense and keeper positions. Barella and Perisic scored a goal apiece to help Inter to a 2-0 win over Fiorentina on Friday. Perisic later going off injured, but he played well on this one. A good alternative to Ashley Young, who in my opinion has sort of stunk it up at times this season. Atalanta and Torino played out a 3-3 draw, which was great for neutrals, but would have had fans of Ledea absolutely pulling their hair out. No way they should be conceding that much to Torino, aside that, well, I mean, I guess to be fair to them, they aren't the worst in the attack. They're just absolutely dreadful when it comes to defending. Palomino and Toloi were awful at the back for Atalanta, speaking of dreadful defending, as Atalanta had a 3-0 lead at home and they blew it. Brutal, but I mean, we got to give credit to Torino as well for the fight back, of course. Juve got a very, very good win at home against AS Roma. Good as far as the result goes, but nothing else about it was good or easy to watch for Juve fans. A total of 3 attempts towards goal, 2 of which went in, and they won 2-0. They spent a lot of the match just sort of trying to stave off the Roma attack, who had most of the ball but didn't do enough with it in the final third, at least. Ronaldo with the opener for Juve, set up by Morata, while Ibanez scored an own goal for Juve. Ibanez. Also, the win came at a bit of a cost as both Bonucci and Alexandro went off injured. Napoli had perhaps the most frustrating match of the weekend in Italy. They peppered the Genoa goal, hurling 26 attempts toward them and scoring just once. Just once. They also hit the woodwork a couple of times, and yet Genoa took just 4 shots, 1/6 of Napoli's attempts, and scored twice. Napoli lose 2-1. Absolute hell on earth for Gattuso. Lazio overcame Cagliari with a strike from Ciro, which extended their hot streak to 7 matches unbeaten, 6 wins in a row. But this was a tough one. Cagliari have the right to feel a bit hard done by, as they arguably had the better chances and were the better team and just lacked the quality to finish them off. That's 14 matches without a win for Cagliari now. And finally, AC Milan made it 2 wins in a row to ensure that they stay on top of the table as they beat Crotone 4-0. Zlatan scored a brace to get his 500th career club goal. Massive achievement, so happy for him. While Ante Rebic also scored a brace, both set up by Hakan Çalhanoğlu. What a relief that he's back. His first appearance in a month, and he steps onto the pitch, plays for 28 minutes, and gets 2 assists. So that win ensured they have a 2-point lead over Inter still. Juve is also just 7 points behind Milan and still have a match in hand, so the race is tight in Italy. A lot of the races across Europe are tight, and that's what we love to see. All right, guys. Thanks as always for joining me here for the weekend recap. I hope you enjoyed it and that you enjoy the rest of your week as well. I'm Adrian. I'll have plenty of content for you this week. This is Rabona TV, and I'll see you later. Ciao.